I'm Rob Cates of Cates Media. We provide video production, live streaming, and animation for law firms, professional service companies, and healthcare organizations. I want to welcome you to The Road to Recovery, Techniques and Technology to Transform Business Development. I want to start off by introducing our speakers. David Freeman is a former practicing lawyer from New York, an award-winning consultant, and a two-time best-selling author. He's a member of the National Law Journal Hall of Fame for being voted the #1 business development consultant and coach for 3 consecutive years. He's worked with nearly half of the AmLaw 200, and for 26 years, he's trained and coached thousands of lawyers and leaders in hundreds of firms worldwide. Given the changes that have occurred with this pandemic, he is focused on mastering the art of delivering high-impact remote training programs and virtual retreats. Darrell Cross is a longtime veteran of the legal industry and expert on building high-performance client, industry, and management teams. Serving as a law firm CMO, as well as head of professional development at 2 of the largest legal technology companies, he is a recognized evangelist on helping people grow and thrive without sacrificing their physical well-being. Chris Fritsch is the founder of CLIENTSFirst, a consulting company that has helped hundreds of firms successfully select and implement CRM and other marketing and business development technology. Chris is a well-known writer and speaker on CRM success topics. She's also an active LMA member and a supporter and a fellow of the College of Law Practice Management.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. I know we're all at this point getting used to our new normal, sharing office space, working remotely, having to share space with our spouses and partners and our kids and even our pets. And I think this cartoon about sums it up, right? Right now, while we are in this place, there's a lot going on. Our clients are feeling the effects of the pandemic. Of course, we're feeling the effects as a result. Lots of law firms, lots of challenges right now with layoffs and furloughs, and I don't have to tell all of you, I'm sure you're well aware of it. But in this time, it's more important than ever to focus on building relationships and being able to develop business. So we're going to provide you today with some real tactics and technology to help you do that. I'm going to kick this off and pass it over to David Freeman to get us started today.
All right, Chris, thank you. And we're going to get you started by wanting to hear from you. So we've got this very quick poll question. So if you can go down to the bottom in the center, you'll see where it says polls. Great, some of you are already in. If you can answer this question, do you believe the crisis has created an opportunity to upgrade your culture of business development? Very interesting. This is great. It was interesting. I was speaking with a CMO yesterday, and she said, I don't think there's ever been a better time to be a CMO. There are so many opportunities now to do things that people never would have accepted from us in the past. And so it is, I think, a really interesting time to be able to make the shift and to be able to get people to do things. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm going to start out with some of the tactics that I'm going to help share with you that you may be using, or maybe some ideas that you haven't been thinking about. But before I even get into this, I wouldn't be a consultant worth my weight if I didn't have a mnemonic. And so the mnemonic that I want you to remember are the 3 M's. Your lawyers need a new mindset. They may need some new measures. And then at the end of this, I'm going to give you a ton of methods. So as you see here in this picture, live meetings, not happening. Going in and doing these in-house presentations, going and visiting clients on site as we used to do. Or certainly this one, going to conferences or being the speaker at large events, that's not coming back anytime soon. Client meals, cocktails afterwards, large sporting events and other social events. Hey, live is dead. And so now we need to be able to come up with a new toolbox, a new way to be able to reach out to people, to still build the authentic relationships that we're looking for, but to do it in a way that can be done in this way. And so you're going to be measured these days. Clients are measuring you. They always have, but it's a little bit of a different measuring stick right now. A lot of it is based on how well are you showing up for me during this crisis. And so there are some very specific measures that you may want to look at. And so some of these measures are, how many internal connections are you able to make inside of the firm? There's a lot of people here from very large firms. The lawyers. I mean, I coach lawyers every day on cross-selling, and they don't know what's going on in the firm. They don't know what's happening in their own practice, with cross practices, in other offices. There are new laterals coming in every single day, and people don't have that relationship. So this is a fantastic time to cherry pick people in the firm to determine who should I build better relationships with. That can be measured. We can also look at another measure. You and the lawyers in your firm, they've got contacts that they know. This is a great time to reach out. And sometimes there's some issues with that, which I will address. But, go in, dive in, take a look at that list, and then come up with reasons to reach out. Also, this can be finessed as a time to reach out to people that your lawyers have never reached out to before. There are techniques to cold call that will not scare the heck out of your lawyers, to allow them and give them the comfort to reach out to people in the marketplace. Also, I think one of the greatest stocks in trade right now is, how many things can you do for other people? This idea of selling hard right now, of course, nobody was going to accept that before, and it's even much more sensitive now. But how many favors can you do for people? Can you help referral sources? Can you help clients and put them together with other people? Measure your lawyers on this. I remember hearing a story about Lyndon Johnson, and he had 2 jelly bean jars on his desk. Every time he did a favor for someone, he put a jelly bean in that jar. Whenever someone did a favor for him, he put a jelly bean in the other jar. And he found that when he was doing more favors would be coming in for him. He had a tangible way to actually physically see this manifestation of that behavior. So measure your lawyers on the number of favors, and I'll give you some lists of things you can do in that way. Also, as one great consultant in our field, Catherine McDonough, once said, the fortune is in the follow-up. She may not have invented it, but I heard it from her first. And I love that. Our lawyers often think, I made that contact. They said they're going to keep me in mind. Do they? We know it can take 7 to 12 to 20 touches before you get the work. So we always have to be in touch, but in a valued way. Now, this is a very big issue for most people. In sales, this is called call reluctance. And it's that feeling that we've all had. I know I should reach out to this client, prospect, referral source, but I don't have a comfortable way to do it. So I won't do it. And then boom, it ends right there. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is to find ways to think about it a little bit differently. And so what I really love, it's actually changed my own personal behavior, is I have what I call the 30-second rule. So Pavlovianly, the name comes up. You can't figure out a way to do it, and you kind of put it in a bucket of, okay, I'll let that go. No. Take 30 seconds. And this you can do when you're coaching your lawyers. Can we take 30 seconds to just think about every reason why you might be able to reach out to them? You could suggest a few things, and then it could be, no. Oh, I could do that. Boom, you've created that. So this is the art of coaching people through their initial and knee-jerk reactions to not do things. So I don't know if they told you, but I do have a crystal ball. I do have the power to look into the future. And in the future, clients are going to be looking back and saying, how did you deal with me during this difficult period? Did you show up? Were you proactive? Did you try to charge me for everything? Or did you just introduce me to other people in your firm that were helpful and you were there when I needed it? I mean, one personal example I have, when this whole thing hit, I would have loved for my accountant to call me and say, hey, let's talk about that PPP. Let's talk about ways we can help you through. I've studied it. I've done it with 30, 40, 50 other clients. I know exactly what to do for you. How many of your clients would love to get that phone call? So I recommend coaching your lawyers to think in this way. This is the mindset shift. And so when we're looking at the math of the day is you've got to get your lawyers out talking to as many people as you can, and they have to give as many value-added gifts as they can. Gifts meaning insights they have, advice, cross-introductions, training programs, and I've got a quick laundry list that I'll take you through. So now we all know about cross-selling, but, again, this is no time to be selling. So instead, let's kill that and let's talk about cross-connecting with people. Or my old favorite, I actually have the trademark on this, is cross-serving, but I think we've got to take it to another level these days. That level is cross-helping. Now, I'm coaching a lot of lawyers during this period, and they're not comfortable selling, but they are comfortable helping. At the end of the day, the behavior is the same thing. We're making connections, but we're getting it in a way that's comfortable for them. So back to measures. Here's what you can measure around cross-helping. Number one, measure the number of conversations your lawyers are having internally about cross-helping. Next, measure the number of conversations that they are having with clients, with prospects, with referral sources. Measure these things. And then third, it's that staying top of mind follow-up. We know the typical measures are dollars, billable hours. Of course, those are always important, but that's what comes out of the spigot at the end. We have to put these ingredients in earlier to get them there. So we talked about call reluctance. Let's give you some ways that your lawyers can overcome some of this call reluctance. These can be opening lines for phone calls, for emails. Morph them any way that works for you. But here are some examples. Very simply, this could be for a former client, 2, 3 years, 5 years ago, whatever. Hey, I've been thinking about you, and I just wanted to check in to see if you're okay. That's all we need is to get the conversation started. Another variation. I'm here to help you work through this. Our firm is on top of these issues. What's worrying you these days? A great question. Another version, how can I help you? Or is there anybody in my network that I have who can help you? This is a great one for your litigators. I can imagine you may be having some difficulties with partners, customers, landlords, suppliers. Is there anything we can do to help? And we know that litigators have a problem when it comes to marketing because it's not something that is showing up immediately, and they can know that they can help them. But here's a great way they can get in early. A few more. Now that we've gone through that first wave of all this craziness and we have a little bit of breathing room, is there something that we can review for you? Perhaps it's time to look at figure it out, whatever it is for you. I know I'm working with some estate planning lawyers, and there are a lot of things they should do before the election, end of year, and so on. Do you have any questions I can help you with? Or here's one of my favorites. I've asked many clients what they need right now, and they've generally said, whatever. Is that an issue for you? The beauty of this question is it is demonstrating that you know what's going on. You have seen it through a range of other clients. That's what they're looking for, smart people who have been through this fire and who can help them. So this last piece here, this brain represents your client, a prospective client, a referral source, and it's you that wants to be in there, or your lawyers. So what do you have to do to get in there? You got to give them some gifts. And so let's just take a little bit of a run here along what some of these gifts might be. You see here the force majeure clause. A lot of you did that early on. Send them deals if you can help them in any way. Maybe there's a little bit of research you can do for some clients that would be helpful for them. If you've got some lawyers with capacity, what a great way to probe and find out how you can help a client. This one is actually one of my personal favorites. Some firms are creating their COVID checklist. Now, every firm I know has created the COVID task force. Well, the concept here is to take those practices, put them on a one-pager. Labor and employment, bullet, 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 bullet. Regulatory, bullet, 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 bullet. And so it arms lawyers to go to their clients and say, hey, life's crazy out there. There's a lot going on that we've looked at, and we would like to offer up some suggestions for you. Offer free services if you have some capacity. Great way for a client to audition you. Give advice. And here's another favorite. Virtually join clients when they are getting together in their strategic planning. I had one managing partner said that she got 5 new pieces of work just from this technique. Ask for feedback. You're doing training anyway. Offer it up to clients, or actually offer for clients to join your own internally generated training programs. Offer office hours, introductions. Another personal favorite here is to start your own group virtually. People are loving this. This is a cold calling technique as well, both the joining the group and co-author and co-present. You can call anybody and offer for them to go on a webinar. And I'm going to go through these because I don't want to take up more time for others, but you're doing a lot of the alerts and podcasts. You're sending out a ton of updates. Great time to get on LinkedIn, talk to a lot of friends. A lot of people have lost jobs. You might be able to help them there, and so on. And so I want to offer a gift up to you. For anybody who would like to do a program like this internally, I'm happy to do a business development webinar and also to help get your leadership team together to talk through what's going on in this crisis. And at that point, let me go hand this over to Darrell, who's going to take this from a little bit of a different perspective.
Hey, thanks, David. I appreciate that. I appreciate each one of you being here today. I want to ask a quick little poll question to put things in perspective, though. I have another one here. And just what is the reality at your firm? True or false? Our firm does a deep analysis of our top 30 clients when making major strategic decisions. Not in utopia world, in today's world. Go ahead and take a moment to answer that. Okay, we got our poll results. Let's remember this because we're going to come back to it. It says here 70% do not, 30% do. A deep analysis of the top 30 clients when making those major strategic decisions. So remember that 30% as we go forward. So I'm going to be talking about a concept that I call protecting the core, because what I find is in situations that are very disruptive or challenging or just somewhere we haven't been before, we open the box and say, hey, what are all the things we can possibly do? Let's think of an analogy for a moment. If you were a pilot flying in a very, very bad storm, no matter how great of a pilot you were, you probably wouldn't spend a lot of time studying the dials and everything. You'd probably have your head up and paying attention to things that are most important. Altitude, speed, direction. Everything else is secondary. Similarly, if you were a lawyer and you had this big case and you wanted to make sure the opposing counsel had to do all this discovery and it really challenged to find the one piece of information to make a good argument, you'd send them everything, right? Or simple fact, let's say you're driving down the road, you've got you and your spouse, your partner arguing with each other because you're lost and you're late. What's one of the first things that you do? You turn off the radio. We all do these things because we are being saturated by this signal noise all the time. So David had these great comments about here's what to do, but a lot of people say, what do I do next? And so the rule I always have with that is when you're faced with these untenable alternatives, what should I do? What could go wrong? We don't know what's going to happen next. Always consider your imperative. And for law firms, the imperatives are very simple. It's one of these 3 things. Treasure your talent, protect the core, and accelerate uphill. Treasuring your talent are your business development professionals, your lawyers, your receptionists, the partners that you have out in the market that are helping you, whatever that might be. Accelerating uphill, we can talk about that another time, but this is the time to make big changes and focus on clients that you've always been meaning to do. But today we're talking about protecting the core. And what I mean by that is that there is a resource inside your firm, whether it is your billing system, your CRM, even your intake, conflicts, all the different pieces there. That is what makes you who you are. And it should be the very first thing people concentrate on. Instead of all the things we could do, what are the things we should do right now? And so a warning sign for that, we actually have firms using a tool that we make to provide early warning systems. This is an example of a real firm. I've blocked out the name, but this is one of their biggest clients. It shows an average of their email traffic from those clients on a regular basis over a period of months versus what it is now. Now, if this isn't an early warning sign for somebody that you're about to lose this client or something's about to happen badly to this client, this is something very simple. We can't do this for 10,000 clients, but we certainly can do it for the ones that are most important to us. But getting to that point of what is our core, where do we start, is the challenge. So the way I like to do it is break it down into simpler steps. First of all, we identify the most important relationships we have. And I know everybody gets great service and every client is important, but just like the concept you use on your phone, you have a list of favorites that if those person called twice in the middle of this webinar, you would leave. Every lawyer has one of those too, and so does your firm as a collective whole. We also want to help people collaborate with agility to be able to change our strategy and our approach as needed immediately, but then also be proactive. What clients probably will need, and how do we empathetically cross-serve, cross-help, as some of the things David talked about, and do that in a scalable factor. So the steps to do those things, number one, stick to what you know until something better comes along. This is not a great reinvention time. We want to stick to what we know. Build your zombie team. I'll get back to that in a minute. And then take the lead. Be proactive. Accelerate uphill. That first one that I talked about, stick to what you know. Well, this is the clients you have, the work you do, the people you have in-house. Whether they're new laterals or been there for 30 years, your business development professionals, finance department, IT, all the pieces that need to come together. This is what you have. And if you think about it, it's like an Apollo 13 from the movie. They had to fix the spacecraft on the way back. They didn't have time to get new parts. They had what was stuck inside the spacecraft at the moment. That's what you got. And you should take a similar approach. The reason I use that poll in the beginning is because BTI, which is the most fabulous resource for webinars worldwide when it comes to stats, it talks about this. The typical law firm with more than 200 attorneys, about 44% of the money is coming from just 30 clients. But when they did a follow-up, only 48% are sitting down and analyzing those. It was 30% on this call. So that's almost half the revenue, but we're not using it as one of our baselines for protecting the core. So that's why I bring that up. There's different stages with each of this. Some is firm level, some is practice, some is down at the lawyers. But if we're going to start with the lawyers, if you would just do nothing else but ask every one of your lawyers to focus on 15 people. Some of you have maybe heard me talk about the 15 people that'll make or break your year. I've modified it slightly. There's 5 clients that they really need to be on top of. 5 colleagues inside the firm that they should be talking to across offices, practice boundaries, industry groups, and then 5 influencers, lawyers on the outside, or deal makers, bankers, accountants, workout specialists, whatever it might be. If each one of your lawyers just focused on that, it would be an enormously successful start to protect that core. And so questions for you to ask if you're the lawyer, coach them to say, who are my most important clients? They're all important because to their business, it really is. But profitability, revenue, multi-practice clients. So then ask, what internal data do I need to determine that? Time and billing is the best place to start. Need dashboards and financials to keep track. And then experience and historical matters. What is the work we typically do? Because if you've never done it before, it's going to be hard to turn on that in 30 days. The MBD professional, marketing business development, where are the overlaps between practices, between lawyers? That's where cross-serving and cross-helping comes from, is you compiling those lists. So with this internal data, get them to focus, set some guardrails out there so people aren't all over the place, keep the firm leadership informed, and then set up these early warning systems with our most important clients. The step 2 of this process is building that zombie team. And what I mean by that is, think about like from The Walking Dead or any of these other apocalypse movies. I don't need a bunch of people that do the exact same thing. I need a doctor. I need someone who can drive the car, somebody who's a little scrappy, whatever it might be. I need a blend of people. And that is what your clients need right now. If your client is a manufacturing company, it's not just about manufacturing deals. It's about labor and employment and taxes and consolidating real estate and maybe selling off and spinning off a piece of it. And you're going to need all sorts of different lawyers to do that. So keep that in mind. But we're not just picking random names out of a hat where it used to be just the person down the hall. Who has the best relationship? Use relationship intelligence to find the shortest distance between the 2 points. This person can help this client immediately. I could set up a Zoom call in 20 minutes that could address a business issue for a client, not just based on the same people from my practice group I work all the time. So if you're going to protect this core of relationships, once again, we're narrowing these things down. We're going across typical boundaries that kept us constrained before, and we want agility. If I'm working with a manufacturing client that makes one thing, I have 5 or 6 people I work with, but maybe they make medical devices, so that's a different 5 or 6 people. So it doesn't have to be static. And keep in mind that we're reaching out to people, not just the companies, because that's how we take the lead. Going forward, to be able to take that lead, it's going to require us to be proactive and seeing around corners and predicting that future like David talked about. Where is the client today? What do we bring to the table? Key client plans being very, very important, but this OODA loop, orient, observe, decide, and act, this is used by people in high pressure situations like astronauts and pilots, and what's going on, try to determine why that's happening, make a decision, act, repeat. And that SAQ I mentioned at the bottom, speed, agility, and quickness, how fast can I go? How quickly can I change directions and maintain that speed, and then be able to react to external stimulus quickly by building these teams. And for that, you need external data. We have those top 5 influencers I mentioned, but what are the market conditions that are affecting that client before the clients even think about that? Client team meetings that you hold, how do we make this client more profitable and financially stable? Think about business cycles ahead of legal problems, and then start being predictive by saying to clients, if this happens, we'll do that. If that happens, we'll do this. Not just one size fits all and making them come to you for that. That's the essence of protecting the core. Really focusing on what is the most important people that you already know, instead of being caught up on, oh, what might go wrong and what should we do next. You combine this internal data, which is exclusive to your firm on planet Earth, combine it with relationships and external content to create this context. And when firm leadership gets behind that and your entire firm starts talking about your most important clients like they are a mutual fund and their financial success is yours, everything else takes care of itself. That's how we focus, we collaborate, and be proactive. And so here at Intapp, many of your firms have been working with us for decades. One of the top products that we work with a lot on is Flow. How do we manage multiple workflows across systems and across data streams? And so we are actually offering this right now for free for a period of time. And you can contact me direct about what those those timelines are. But just real briefly, these are some of the things that we see. Firms have come to us, say, we need help right now with these. So we are offering these. These response workflows for COVID-19 support, 1 year free, development, discounts on support. We want to get you up and running with it. So I want to say thank you for your time today because I know it is very important to you. But I also want to turn this over to my good friend, Chris Fritsch. Chris Fritsch is somebody that knows how to take technology and make these great ideas scalable and repeatable. So I'll turn it over to her.
Well, thank you so much, Darrell. And again, yes, thank you to everybody who's here today. We're going to kick off again with a polling question. So let's talk a little bit about the technology challenges that your firm is facing during the pandemic. And you can pick as many of these as you want. Just trying to get a feel for what we're all going through today. There come our results. Okay, great. Yeah, not uncommon. If you look at the poll, these are a lot of things that firms are facing today. They don't have the right technology. We're a little unprepared for this, obviously. I don't think anyone could have prepared for this. We're all trying to do reach out, but guess what? The same people know the same people. So we've got to be coordinated in reaching out. And how do we do that? How do we find who's got the right relationships to be the right person to reach out? And then how are we going to coordinate and track our business development efforts, which are more important than ever? There's a lot going on right now that we're all going to be dealing with. So, what is our forecast? Where is all this heading? I don't think anyone really knows, but a lot of our clients are telling us, it's a very uncertain time, obviously, and they need to have the right technology and the relationships. And that really, there's just not enough hours in the day. I know we're all facing that. The forecast is a little cloudy, but I want everybody to consider that there's a little bit of a silver lining to this as well. Right now, we have an unprecedented opportunity. People who said we could never work remotely, we're all working remotely. People who said you had to have FaceTime in the office, that's gone. We've got people with time on their hands, which is a very unusual opportunity. And attorneys are now using technology that they wouldn't have touched months ago. How many attorneys do you know that would have used Zoom and they're now sitting on Zoom calls all day long? It's absolutely essential. And business development is more important than ever. So what are the different types of technology that can help to support this? Well, obviously, I'm a big fan of CRM, e-marketing systems, also important, ERM. We're going to talk through a lot of these different types of technology, but I do find it interesting. While there has been a downturn and a lot of things have changed for, to be more hesitant to spend money, I've actually had firms who have called and said, the first thing my managing partner said is, let's get a communication out the door. And she said on the phone, I couldn't help. I laughed and said, we've been trying to focus on this for 4 years and the firm has not wanted to commit to the technology. Suddenly it's mission critical. And the firms are actually focusing on this technology. So let's think about this very unusual circumstance. Maybe we can finally get people to start using the technology to coordinate, right? So we'll talk through some of these tools. Let's start with CRM, all right? That's, our old favorite that a lot of firms have had and complained about forever. CRM is essential right now. You can't get a list out the door. You can't communicate with clients if you don't have their contact information, if you don't have them on lists. So a lot of firms struggled with that. Firms that focused, there's another firm that I talked to, they're like, well, we need to cut back on our spend around data quality. And I said, just want you to consider something. When you did your outreach, was it painful or was it easy? And she said, well, actually, it was surprisingly easy. And I said, that's because you spent the time focused on data. A lot of firms are really frustrated with that now. So you've got a unique opportunity. Don't lose that momentum that you have. And they absolutely agreed with that. But CRM can also help you with coordinating these webinars that you need to do, with also coordinating your BD activities such as pitches and proposals and RFPs, and helping to identify ROI that's going to be more important than ever, when we're concerned about costs, not investing in the things that are not giving us a payback. And then to help you identify, using your ERM or enterprise relationship management system, who are the right people that should be reaching out. And being able finally to track activities. The biggest challenge we ever have working with clients is trying to identify non-marketing activities. So it's pretty easy to get marketing to input the activities when we do a webinar, a seminar, an e-marketing campaign. But to get the attorneys to talk about who is speaking with whom and who is having a phone call or a meeting or whatever it might be, or has sent them a pitch, is essential so we're not uncoordinated. We can't have the same people reaching out to the same contact 20 times. Maybe consider now having the attorneys or maybe their assistants who have some spare time learning how to enter activities in the system. Maybe doing what Darrell said, some integration with things like an expense management system to get the BD activities, just something to think about. Pipeline, something attorneys and law firms have been very slow to adopt compared to, say, the accounting and consulting firms. They live in a pipeline. So the pipeline helps you track all of the essential business development activities, the essential follow-up tasks, who's working with whom, and even getting to a point where we can track potential revenue coming in the door and staffing as we're trying to do project management. We actually need to get to the point where we start adopting this technology, and maybe now is the time. Competitive intelligence, I'm a huge believer in this as well. How well do you know your clients and your prospects? And there are a lot of tools now that can bring this information into a central area like a CRM. So you can have information about the company, but not just the company, the industry that they're in, so you can target your communication, the size of the organization. Information about news and business can all be brought in now, and that all hopefully drives adoption of the CRM system. So it sort of builds on itself. This is all really important technology. So where does this leave us? I think we started off with a cloudy forecast, but there really is some opportunity here. We've got a little bit of time to take a deep breath and think about how we can get ahead. Do we have the right tools? If we don't, I've got firms that said, you know what, we may not be able to buy this year, but we can certainly do the research. We can do an assessment of our needs this year. We can evaluate the tools and sit on webinar demos. Start focusing on getting our data cleaned up. Categorize your contacts so that you can actually reach out in a smarter way by industry. Who are your clients? Who are your former clients you haven't talked to in a while that you may need to reach out to personally or via email? Lots of different things. How can you categorize which kinds of clients might need which types of help? And then let's set some follow-up and be coordinated about how we do this. Then we're all putting out content. I understand we're all struggling to keep up with the volume, the sheer volume of content and webinars. And by the way, thank you all, as busy as you are, for taking time to join us on this one today. But it's really important to rethink content, not just e-alerts, maybe not just articles, webinars, video, podcasts. Video actually gets 30% more engagement than just text. So maybe it's time to have attorneys, they're playing with Zoom. Let's have them start recording their Zoom and doing some video editing. Someone like Rob Cates can help them get it looking really professional to drive traffic. Offer, as David said earlier, what can you give for free? Free consultations, free trainings, free courses, reports, research, and then spend time on social media, learning that and sharing this information. Repurpose the information. Look at information you produced a few years or even a few months ago. How has it changed that you could sort of repurpose and fit it to today's scenario and reshare it and share it in multiple ways across platforms? It's a great way to drive traffic. Speaking also of content, there was a great article, I think it was law.com, ALM last week, about GCs responding to the content. They said, yes, we've got more content than we know what to do with. And by the way, we're not really overloaded. We are still interested in good content, but we give law firm content overall a 5.9 out of 10. Not the best in the world. So their tips: make the content more timely. You can't say you're going to do a webinar in 3 weeks and talk about the same thing, because with this situation, things are changing rapidly. Make sure it's useful content. Emails, give me a strong subject line, less than 80 characters, and tell me, why do I need to read this as busy as I am? And then give me something actionable. Give me some recommendations. I just don't want to see a wrap-up of what's going on. I'm getting that from everyone. I want something actionable from you. Survey them, and also provide research reports. They said that's the one thing that they're missing. They're getting it from the accounting and consulting firms, but they're not getting enough of it from us. And most important during this time, leverage your people. You've got people with some time. Focus on dedicating staff to help the attorneys with outreach, get the assistants to help with contact management, track all of this. Focus on groups that have strong leaders who can help. Also, good to have metrics and analytics so that you can see if this is paying off and you're getting ROI on it. So I think that's a good summary of how technology can support it. But I think it's important, to summarize what we've talked about here. If you're going to get ahead, maintain where you are now and get ahead now and in the next normal, as David and Darrell both said, reach out to help, provide value, provide gifts, leverage the technology to support you in doing this, and reach out for help. Any one of us will take a call anytime, happy to help. Reach out to your providers, your consultants, your vendors, LMA and other legal marketing resources. They're just tremendous resources that you can leverage right now. And here are my gifts to you. Please, anyone who would like it, we'll send you a follow-up email with some links to download this, but we've got an infographic of the CRM Growth Cycle so you can figure out where you are. We're happy to analyze a list of your contacts to check your data and see if we can help you enhance that data, or a free client intelligence report if you're focusing on client business and information. Happy to help with any of that. And I'll now pass it back to Rob.
Okay, we're going to move into the Q&A portion of things now. Our first question is for David. Can you give us real-life examples of some things you have seen work during the pandemic?
I think a couple of things that I've seen, as I mentioned during the idea of joining clients virtually during their internal planning sessions is one of the most powerful. Leadership teams inside clients are meeting more than they've ever had before, and they need smart people. So that has worked really, really well. Offering up training internally has also been a great way. And then a third thing I've seen is I've seen lawyers proactively start their own groups. Because think about what's going on. Conferences are canceled, and people still want to get together. I know I was talking to one lawyer, and he said that they were sponsoring a cocktail party the night after an event. There were supposed to be 300 people at it. And so my question was, well, why do these people want to come to your party? Well, they love to network with each other. Well, you could use Zoom or something like that with the right facilitation and breakout rooms and get people to connect actually in ways that are better than ever before. So these are techniques that people are using real time to make this happen.
Hey, David, I'll add to that a little bit too. It's kind of funny. I hear people talking about some of the things their lawyers and their firms are doing right now. And in the past, they'd say, well, we don't do client teams here. We can't get the buy-in or industry. I don't know. But what are they doing? They're forming groups to talk about their most important clients and their business issues. That's called a client team. And then how do we predictive what could happen with our manufacturing or our pharmaceutical clients, and what are all the implications of real estate and IP and employee relations during the, yeah, those are called industry teams. So a lot of the things that we said we never could do, we actually are doing them. So I would actually guide people to say, let them roll with it. Do the best you can with it. Don't overly call it client team, industry team, because then they might not like it anymore. Right. But when this is over, they're permanent fixtures inside your organization. So take advantage of that momentum.
And then building on that, I've also heard that some firms are creating products by putting together services in a certain way, AKA an industry team or something else. But to Darrell's point, let's just get rid of nomenclature, because sometimes that kills things before it even starts. But packaging services together, how to respond to what's going to happen to PPP investigations. And I mean, there's just so many variations of things that could be packaged together cross-functionally. That's another best practice. Any other questions?
Yeah. So our next question is for Darrell. What tips can you give us on how to balance protecting core client relationships without neglecting client accounts outside of the core?
So I view looking at your core clients as almost like taking a blood test, and it kind of gives you a general idea of what's going on. You still have to do some investigation of why certain things are the way they are afterwards. So it's kind of a piece of your DNA, your engagement DNA, your client DNA. Those 30 core clients, maybe identify some commonalities, but then you can look at those 30 core clients and go, oh, that's a manufacturing client. That's a pharmaceutical client. That's a financial services client. What about our other financial services clients? Do they have the same issues? So instead of trying to scan 10,000 clients and coming up with this much info on each, you scan the big ones, you cross-section them by industry, size, public versus private traded, and you extrapolate what that probably means. It's a non-random sample, but it's a sample of your clients that shows the most important ones. And so you use that knowledge to build upon, because the reason those 30 clients turn to you for their biggest, most important things, they're true believers in what you do. And being able to replicate that for other prospects or clients is a great formula for where to start. So you can think big by starting small.
So our next question, and looks like our last for Chris. How do you approach creating a business case for lawyers and partners that are resistant to adopting new technology?
So I think it's all about value. I mean, that's how you drive adoption. And so you have to really focus on value. And value is defined differently for each firm and often for groups and surely for individual attorneys within the firm. So it's all about providing value. Also, analytics are a big part of this. So lawyers, when you show them the numbers, they're focused on things now like project management and trying to get return on investment and trying to identify, simple analytics like who's reading our email, who's attending our webinar. Giving them the numbers and the analytics will actually prove the value of the technology. I think the most important thing to do, before sort of jumping in and getting a lot of technology and trying to get new systems is to really assess your firm and attorney needs and make them part of the process. We do what's called a Crm Success Assessment where we come in and actually talk to and interview all of the key stakeholders, which you can certainly do, to find out what are their needs. And then once you know what each group or each individual needs, you can show them the aspects of the technology that can really address that. And don't forget about client needs. So any way that you can show that technology can help you with client needs and identifying ways to build relationships, to identify relationships, and to communicate effectively right now is more important than ever. And it's going to, the firms that are able to do that are going to get a real advantage when we get back to or up to our next normal.
Chris is an expert in taking technology and enabling the strategy of the firm. She's been doing that longer than anybody. David is the best person I know in dealing with culture inside of law firms and how to get people to do it. I'm just the person here with the funny analogies, I think, so I'll do that part. What I've found is really effective, especially in times like this, is let's not try to sell people too much on a new system, a new technology or whatever. Let's help them be better lawyers. And I've joked before that if you want your kids, for example, to eat broccoli, you pour cheese on top of it. Then they don't know they're eating broccoli. If you structure these cultural changes, new policies, technology as a way to be a better lawyer, to be able to serve clients proactively, help them get out of the mess, help them be that better lawyer, the system and the technology really doesn't matter. Just focus on that, and then you as marketing, business development, and technology experts can do your job.
Yeah, and let them spend more time being lawyers. So any of this technology that can help enable what they do and save them time and automate the process of collecting the information so that they don't have to spend time, doing data entry. I'm sorry, but people who are billing $500 or $1,000 an hour, maybe data entry, is not the highest and best use of their time. So any of this that you can automate, they'll see the return on that investment right away. Let them spend more time being lawyers and reaching out and working together with clients.
And one last build on that, which is, if you remember an old-time business card, it says attorney, and then it says counselor at law. It's time to really help your lawyers think through what the counselor side looks like so they can be the better attorney. But clients need consultants, advisors, and helpers right now. And with all the tools that are available, your lawyers can be armed to be that for them.
Great. So it looks like that's it. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, and we'd like to thank all of our speakers. If you want to stay in touch with any of them, you can scan these QR codes and be instantly connected with any of them on LinkedIn.